Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Nova Holistic episode 10. It is episode 10. No, it's episode 11. Why did it come up as episode 10? Anyway, I will change that. My name is Diana. Welcome to How We Go Live. This is what happens when we go live. And sometimes things go to plan and other times they don't. Anyway, let me extend a really warm welcome to Jenny Smith, my guest today, who's going to talk to us about her journey. Hi, Jenny. Welcome.
Hi, Deanna. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my
Excited.
pleasure. Yeah, it's very cool. So, I want to take this opportunity today and talk to you about your about you, about your passion, about your journey in life, about how you got to where you are, about and unpack some of the more deeper maybe parts of you around your journey. So if you don't mind, let's I'd love for you to introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us about where you are in the world, just to, just a little bit about yourself, please, and your life.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me here.
My
I am
pleasure.
Jenny Smith. I'm a certified functional medicine health coach, and I own Simplified Lifestyle Coaching. I'm currently in Chandler, Arizona, which is about 25 miles east of the Phoenix area in the United States. And I would say I'm considered a newer health coach, but I'm not new in the helping profession. Prior to getting certified in functional medicine health coaching, I was working as a community college academic advisor, and I had done that for about 5 years. But prior to that, I was in social work, and I worked about 7 years in social services, where I was a child and family services advocate. So I'd investigate child abuse reports, and I'd have to do case management, reporting to the courts, working with the parents, working with the kids on placement, making sure that they got all their services, their counseling, that the parents were doing their parenting courses to get their children reunited with them. So I had done that for the start of my career after college, but I knew that I didn't want to do that long-term having a family because the hours were unpredictable. It was really taxing on my mental state as far as just having to see really hard things. And I didn't want to do that for my whole career. So I ended up going back to school, and that's how I ended up in educational counseling. So how I ended up in health coaching is my family and I moved here about 5 years ago from Southern California. And I have 2 kids. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. And so they were, 5 years ago, they were in elementary school, pretty young. And we moved to Phoenix for my husband's job. And I told him, I was looking at the transfer opportunities, and it wasn't great as far as like an equal transfer into the community college system out here. So I told my husband that I would like to stay home for a little bit and be a stay-at-home mom, get us settled in the area, get our doctors figured out, volunteer at the kids' school. And in that time, that's when I really started to kind of slow down and take care of myself. I was moving my body every day. I was sleeping better. I wasn't under a whole lot of stress. I was, we had a housekeeper back in California, but when we moved, I told my husband, I'm like, we can't pay for a housekeeper. I'm home. Like, I should be able to clean the house. But it's not something I enjoy doing. So to make it more enjoyable, I plugged into podcasts. And I was listening to podcasts like Dr. Mark Hyman. He's a functional medicine doctor. I was listening to all these different health and wellness podcasts, and I was my eyes were open to the new possibilities of healthcare. because when I first moved here, which was interesting considering I didn't have a stressful job, I was happy. We made friends right away, but I was depressed. I found myself kind of in a depressed state all the time. I was tired by 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I just wanted to go to sleep. And so I would go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, you're a mom. It's normal to be tired all the time when you're a mom. And then he ended up giving me some antidepressants, and I had been on antidepressants before, years prior, when my mom had passed away, and it helped. But this time it didn't help, and I didn't like the side effects. So I ended up stopped taking them. And with all the information I was gathering from these podcasts, with my husband's blessing, I said, I need to go find another doctor, and I really want to try out functional medicine. And that whole approach to medicine was just foreign to me because it's not insurance based. It's, fee-based visits, and they have you fill out all this paperwork before you go, and they want to know everything. They want to know, what your birth story was like, and what your childhood was like, and what illnesses do you have as a child between, birth and now as an adult, and did you experience any trauma in your life? And so they had all that information, and I sat down with the doctor at my first appointment, and she wants to know everything. So it was a 90-minute appointment. That she just really, this doctor just really listened to me, because I was starting to feel like, gosh, I'm crazy. Is it really normal to be this tired all the time? And is it normal to be depressed? And so she just validated my feelings that it was not normal. And just a little bit of backstory. I had been through a lot with my parents. My mom passed away at 52 from breast cancer. So I was 29. I was not married yet, had not had my kids. And 6 years later, my dad had passed away from a massive heart attack. And his heart attack was a result of kidney failure from unmanaged type 2 diabetes. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I was headed when I had all my blood work done, and was working with this doctor, that my blood sugar was getting, up there, and I was on the cusp of pre-diabetes. So, I just tackled it on, changed my diet, and, not reduce stress, because I wasn't really feeling stressed at that moment. I had all these years of stress with my other previous professions and with everything that I'd gone through with losing my parents. At this point in my life, I was ready to just move forward. I've always really looked at things in a more positive mindset, in a more positive view, as counting my blessings. I did have my parents for such a long time. So incorporating different diet changes, reducing stress, making sure that I was prioritizing sleep, all of that, and just the transformation that I went through. It was I have to help other women do this. There's another way than conventional medicine.
Can I ask you a question then? Just
Yes.
on that, right? For those of us that don't live in the United States of America, tell us, please, what is functional medicine? Help us understand. What do you mean when you went to see somebody that did functional medicine as opposed to the doctor that you saw before that prescribed you antidepressants, etc.?
Yes. So functional medicine is worldwide. It's not just here in the United States, but we have.
Sorry, just to clarify, I'm more querying the the title, like, as in, what do you consider functional medicine? Because I know what it is, but we call it something else in Australia. So just
Oh,
explain
okay.
to us. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Just
So,
explain to us what. Yeah.
so functional medicine principles is that they look at the
Mhm.
person and they look at their whole systems approach. Like they address the symptoms that someone is struggling with based on their whole system. So it's not, so here in America, we have doctors. If I have an ear infection, I'm going to go to an ear, nose, and throat specialist, and
Mhm.
they're going to address the symptom of the ear
Mhm.
infection. If
Mhm.
I go to a functional medicine doctor, they're going to find out, why do you have an ear infection? What's going on with your whole body? Is there something you're allergic to? Is there some toxins in the environment that's causing this infection to develop? Is there something going on with your gut? And they'll look at gut healing. Functional medicine usually always starts with gut healing because I feel like that's where a majority of
Yeah.
our illnesses stem from.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how they differ. Um,
Mhm.
so functional medicine doctors out here, they're trained MDs or nurse practitioners or some kind of doctor of medicine, and they go on to get certified through the Institute for Functional Medicine. And that's where they're trained on looking at the person as a whole and how can they fix their symptoms. Like, what is the root cause of what's going on with their illness or their symptoms, and trying to
That's
fix it at the root.
fascinating. That's so good. That's so great. So great. I have so many questions about this, but about this, how all of this works, but we're not here for that. We're here for you. I'm, in terms of this conversation, I'm more interested in, you gave us already quite a lot of information about sort of the circumstances that led you to the point of uh, learning about functional medicine and podcasts and all of that sort of stuff, which
Mhm.
is really amazing. It's really um, wonderful, and you gave us some circumstances in your life that um, that compounded into that space of, as you describe it, on the surface, life was wonderful, but you were still experiencing these feelings of depression and not understanding what was going on with you.
Mhm.
So, what I'm trying to do with these podcasts is, I want to find, I want to unpack, with your permission, as much as possible of your your emotional journey and the journey of your mental body. So what were the feelings as you were going through this? What were the thoughts that you were experiencing over a period of time? Because I believe, like you and like me, that when people have these challenges in life, although the challenges are really uncomfortable, often terribly painful and traumatic, they're also like little clues that help people arrive at seeing life in a bigger, as a bigger picture, in terms of a more holistic approach to their lives.
Mhm.
And so I'm kind of wanting to see if we can, highlight a little bit more of that. So maybe tell me about, I mean, I'm really curious about the close relationship that you had with your parents. You
Mhm.
know, what was it about your family that was so beautiful that that when they passed away, it really impacted your own life and your own health and well-being? So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So what I didn't share is, prior to them passing away, they were married for 26 years and they decided to get a divorce.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was 20, I think I was 21 at the time when all that had kind of gone down. And that was really hard for us to take because we were growing up. My mom and dad had a lot of friends, but they didn't have a lot of friends who stayed married. And, I had my friends who came from, a home with, single mom, and dad was outside the home, or vice versa, living with dad, mom outside the home. And so we were always told, you're the all-American family because your parents are still together. You seem so happy. But when I was in the middle of it all as a child, yes, I was happy. Things seemed happy. I think my mom and dad were happy. But it wasn't until all that had happened when they split up that I realized that they weren't. And they had grown apart. My mom was very young. She was 18 when she married my dad. I think they got together when she was 16. So she went right from high school to marriage to becoming a mom and becoming a stay-at-home mom. So she had, now she's not here to tell me this and she's not here to defend this, but this is just my interpretation of it with all the counseling courses that I've taken, just with all of my, just in my journey of self-exploration. My mom loved being a mom, and she was a great mom. Excuse me.
There we go.
I don't know.
What is his name? Let's welcome him to the podcast.
Harvey.
Hi, Harvey.
Harvey, where are you? Oh my gosh.
Oh, there you are. Hey, sweetheart. Hi.
He's a barker.
He knows we're talking about him, doesn't he? Yeah, looks pretty switched on.
So
yeah.
My mom, that was her purpose, right? To be a good mom and to take care of us and to make sure that she was there for us. And she was there for us. But I feel like my mom got lost in that. Like she had her own goals, I think, in life. And I think that was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It was stifled because she was, being a mom and being a wife and making sure the home was, run the way it was supposed to run, and that she had dinner on the table at 5. But once we got older and I was in college and my brother was about to graduate high school, I think she, was like, wow, empty nest. And my husband travels a lot for work. And so I think they grew apart too, because he was always so busy at work. Didn't really take the time to nurture the relationship more and do more things together. So it kind of all fell apart. And I honestly think it really contributed to her illness of getting breast cancer. She just had so much, she just had so much, that she put so many people ahead of her needs and her desires and her wants and her goals. So as a wife, as a mom, and when we moved out here, I enjoyed being the stay-at-home mom for the first few years, but I knew that I needed to have my own thing because I needed to have my passion and my purpose. And so,
question, sorry,
yes.
I just want to check right here at this point. When you knew this, when you moved out here and you had made a choice to stay at home for a while, but knew you weren't going to be doing that for a long time, had you already connected the dots or the parallels between like your life and not wanting to do the same thing as your mom, or was this still in your unconscious? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I had already made the connection. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I found myself getting a little antsy too. I'm like, I need to do something. But I didn't
Yeah.
know what, because I didn't want to go back to social services. I didn't want to
Mhm.
go into the academic realm again, what I really loved about the academic advising was the connection with my students and finding
Mm.
out, like, what's going on in their life and how they're doing. I didn't really love all the planning piece of like, take this class and take this class and make sure you take this class. I liked
Right.
more of the connection, the interpersonal
Mhm.
connection with them. So I knew that I wanted to do something like that. So I ended up taking a course at one of the universities here to start the process of getting licensed in counseling to become a
Right.
professional counselor. Uh,
Mhm.
but that's when I was learning about all this with health and everything. I I knew going in that if I was to be a licensed counselor, I would tell them to start with diet. Start
Right.
with
Yeah.
diet. That contributes to our mental health, diet and
Mhm.
lifestyle and stress and relationships. And I'm not
Mhm.
sure how much of that I could talk about if I was in that going in that direction. And I just didn't
Right.
want to be back in school for another 2 years
Mm.
getting that done too. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then I'm so I'm taking some notes as you're speaking because I'm trying to kind of pave the way to through your story. Um, and so then you make a point about your mum and sort of having a purpose and then empty nest and then kind of now what, and growing apart from her husband, and that contributing, you say, to her breast cancer. Just from like an educated observer perspective, do you mind elaborating on what do you mean by that? How does sort of maybe losing your sense of identity or whatever contribute to an illness? I
mm,
mean, even if not breast cancer, but to a illness.
mhm.
What do you think? What do you mean?
Well, and it's not obviously something that I can say for sure because she was a smoker for many years. I know that her diet wasn't the best. She wasn't someone who really exercised. Um, but I do believe that, especially with some of the work I do with clients,
Mhm.
part of what happens when they're not taking care of their health is because they're not happy. And they may not really know that they're not happy, but something's missing. Because I strongly believe that we're all here on this earth to do something that's going to make a difference.
Mhm.
And some people are in a situation, they're in a job that they don't love and it's tearing them down. They're in a relationship that they're not happy in, but they stay because they feel that that's the only option, that there's no way
Mhm.
out,
Mhm.
that they're just kind of going through the motions of life.
Mhm.
And if we're not living our passion and our purpose, we can get resentful, we can get anxious, and maybe subconsciously, like people don't really realize that until they do more deeper work and start slowing down. And I think that's the purpose of meditation, is hearing the inner voice, right? What is your inner voice saying? Are you stopping and listening to what you want? Or are you
Mm.
just going through the motions and going through the day to day, waking up, having your coffee and bagel, going to the job from 9 to 5 that you don't like, coming back to the partner that you can't stand, in an area that you don't love to live. It's like, are we slowing down and really asking ourselves, what do we want? And I don't think my mom ever really did that. I
Yeah.
think she did so much of, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is what my life is supposed to look like. And this is what being a mom is supposed to look like. And whatever I want is sacrificed.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So essentially, what I'm hearing you say is that the external circumstances, going through the motions, the physical things such as diet, and they're more easily observed. But like, if someone's not eating well or sleeping well, that's more easily, I guess, identified. But a large component of someone's health and well-being actually also lies in those unseen things, meaning your emotional body, your mental body. How are you actually feeling about something? That happiness and joy component, and what is the internal dialogue you're telling yourself? Are you acknowledging your thoughts and your feelings, or are you abandoning your own self and your own thoughts and your own feelings around your life as well, which is perfect, and it's amazing. And also, just listening to your story, it's wonderful how this current version of you can observe, and articulate how, within a couple of generations, meaning your mum and you, there's been a huge evolutionary quantum leap in self-awareness, so that your whole generation, the legacy you leave behind, can be completely different for your kids and then their kids, and so on and so forth. And I think that that's really amazing. Really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just, I just don't think many of us really do that. We get so caught up in just daily surviving and not really asking ourselves, what is it that we want, and what do we think we're put on this earth to do? What is it? What are our gifts? What are our talents? What brings us joy? What brings me joy is connecting with people and talking with people and helping them improve their lives, whether it's their health, whether it's their relationships, whether it's, finding a career, a profession that they love.
So tell me this. I often get asked this question. And so I'm going to expand on that, and I'm going to ask you this. I often get asked, how do I know what my purpose is, right? And I believe that one of the ways to know what one's purpose might be is to take cues from things like, what brings me joy, what puts a smile on my face. So a question for you, Jenny, is how did you know what brings you joy? What were the what was it that told you, oh my God, I love this over that? What was it? Like,
I couldn't get enough information, and I noticed when I'd wake up in the morning, I was excited to learn more and to share my knowledge of what I've learned with others. And knowing that I get caught up in these conversations with people that I just want to talk to them about this over and over again. So I know this is what I love, right? This is what I love right now. It may change 5-10 years from now. I might go down another path, but I think it's always going to be in the helping arena of helping others in some capacity. But where I am right now, I just know that it's where I'm supposed to be because I love it. And wake up in the morning and can't wait to dive in.
There's something to be said. I mean, truly, as romanticized or maybe, whatever, as it may sound, there's really something to be said about when you really love your work. You don't work a day in your life when you're
Right.
doing something that you really love, right? I feel
Mm-hmm.
exactly the same way about what I do as well. And in fact, that's exactly how I'm feeling right now, having this extraordinary conversation with you. And I want, if I haven't said it already, thank you in advance for being so willing to be, with me in this present moment and vulnerable and really disclose these things, because I believe that there's an audience member or 10 or 100 out there that might hear this story and go, okay, hang on a minute, I might start to pay attention to what makes me feel excited when I get up in the morning. And it might just be that one little thing that makes a difference and takes them to that next little step and the next little step. And
Yes.
that's just, it's amazing. It's amazing, the potential of those little changes.
Yeah. Thanks, Deanna, for having me and engaging me in this conversation. I think something that I still work through too is I'm a rule follower. And I think
Mm.
things are supposed to go a certain way. And that, I always have to kind of take a step back and ask myself, does it really need to go this way? And, going back to the doctors that I was going to, we call them the conventional medicine doctors.
Mhm.
We go to our doctors because we trust them. They're the experts. They've gone to all the schooling. So whatever they tell us, we're going to believe them and we're going to consider that they're the experts and be like, okay. But what I'm finding is that so many women in particular who I work with, they're getting this information from the doctors. They're telling them, oh, it's normal to feel this way, or, oh, your labs are fine, but they don't feel good and they don't feel fine. So if there's anything that anyone hears from me today is trust your gut. If something doesn't feel right to you and the doctor is not helping you get those answers, then find another doctor.
Mm.
Go get the answers from someone else. Keep looking.
Mhm.
Don't give up. Don't take them as the know all be all, because really we're the experts of our bodies when it comes down to
Oh
it.
my, yes. So much yes. So much yes. So much. Like
Yes.
I couldn't possibly agree with you more. If I had listened to, oh my God, I won't even start with my story, but I just, yes. Huge neon lights, yes. Hollywood sign, yes.
Yes.
To what you were saying right now.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm. And on that, do you have any thoughts, feelings about how might we advocate this more for women, for men? So rather than just taking any one person's word as gospel, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we advocate for people to empower themselves? What more can we do other than having a podcast and
Yeah.
our one-on-one work?
Mm-hmm. Well, I
Yeah.
think one of the big objections I get is people tell me they can't afford to go see a functional medicine doctor. And I get
Ah,
that
okay.
because
Mm-hmm.
it is out of pocket. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's not always true because I thought that too, but it's really kind of where your priorities lie. So kind of looking at the big picture and seeing what are you spending your money on and what can you cut costs right now to get your health on track? Because ultimately, when you're healthy, you save a lot of money in the long run.
Ah,
Medications, doctor's visits, surgeries, all of that. So that's one thing. another thing is really kind of putting it out there that you're seeking someone else, that you're trying to get a second opinion, or you're needing more answers. There are doctors out there that are not functional medicine trained, or, naturopathy or alternative medicine, but there are so many other doctors, insurance-based doctors, that really do the extra and do more of the research and want to get down to the root of your symptoms. They want to help you. Like I was able to find through my functional medicine doctor an OBGYN that is functional medicine trained, but she is a conventional medicine doctor that takes insurance. So I go and see her, but she knows that I want to go the natural route. I want to try all these other things first before, the alternative or whatever. So she knows kind of what I value in that sense, and she's trained to do that. And she's trained to implement those tests and to make those recommendations. So there are doctors out there that can help you with what you're looking for.
And, I want to say, in order, I mean, you point out a couple of really key things. Of course, but perhaps the first most important aspect of, the journey is really that a person values their own health, that they're willing to put the time in and the effort in to do the research, to make a couple of calls rather than just, default to the local GP.
Yes.
Well, we call them GPs here, so general practitioners, which would be,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a really interesting thing, because affordability, yes, is one. Credibility is another one, right?
Yes.
Because my question to you would be, from someone, from this perspective of someone here in Australia, is it reasonable to say that perhaps an association or the governing body of functional medicine, is it reasonable to expect for them to do more in terms of advocating for that kind of industry?
As far as
so that people, so that people, instead of going to a traditional doctor, will then seek out a functional medicine professional. But it's not like either or, but it's just like, I will go and explore my holistic health and well-being first, and if there are any emergencies or additional things, then my functional medicine doctor can then reach out to, and work in collaboration with.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, is it reasonable to expect for a governing body to do more in order to raise the, I don't know, maybe raise the profile?
As far as like functional medicine reaching out to other doctors, is that what you're saying?
Just in terms of credibility for the collective, for people.
Yeah.
So, so for example, here in Australia, I belong to 3 different associations, right? That, that I get in the professional insurance from, and this organization, does this and that, and thought and counseling and natural medicine and blah, 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 all of this stuff, right? And they're all really wonderful, but they all kind of work
in their
separately in their own little clique, rather than working together so that we can raise the profile of holistic approach, like a more kind of,
I know what you're saying.
Right? Rather than having this fractured way of like going about just kind of collecting professionals and therapists, but not really, like, not raising the credibility and the anyway, you know what I mean.
Yes. Yeah. And I think too, it's not all functional medicine doctors are going to be the ones with the answers. So it's again, like who has the referrals as far as being, reputable. How do you feel when you go there? Do you feel connected to them? Do you feel like they're really, like, when I am with my functional medicine doctor who works in conventional medicine as well, she works part-time at this practice, I can see her wheels spinning. Like, I still have work to do. Like, I still am trying to, like, get my thyroid. I have hypothyroidism that I developed when I was 21. She's still trying to get that dialed in, but I have never seen a doctor with her just like, I think we should try this. I think we should try that. It's very investigative. It's like what works for me might not work for someone else, and vice versa. So she's like, we need to try this. Let's see how this works for you. So I probably won't ever leave her because I can tell she genuinely cares about me, but it doesn't mean that all the doctors you're going to vibe with in that sense. And I also want to say too, that if you're not ready to make that leap into like alternative treatments or a more holistic doctor, start with the basics. And that's what I educate women on, is start with the basics of the foundations of health, making sure that you're prioritizing sleep and that you're getting good quality sleep, making sure that you're reducing stress and you have tools to combat the stress, because, stress is just a part of life. It's a given. We can't escape it. And prioritizing nutrition, making sure that you're incorporating whole foods, like real foods from the earth, from the animals. Like, just make sure that you're fueling your body with good foods. And I'm not sure if you heard of the standard American diet saying that we have here in America, but the SAD diet is really making us all sick. And it's a diet high in ultra processed foods. It's a diet high in fast foods and, industrialized inflammatory vegetable oils, and diabetes is skyrocketing. Alzheimer's is on the rise. Obesity, like it's madness here. So just getting back to the basics and eating wholesome foods and moving your body. If you just do those things, you're going to start feeling better without going to a doctor. And then if you're not, then you need to go to the doctor and find out why not. And so the women I work with, I'm in my 40s, so that's my target market, 40s, 50s. We're dealing with hormone imbalances, and our hormones are starting to change in the perimenopause, menopausal time of our life. So even, getting testing done for that, that's not something I do, but that's something a doctor can do for the women to find out, where they are in that stage of life. And that can produce all kinds of symptoms.
Yeah, I know. I'm sort of in the middle of it. I was actually just at my health food store, my local health food store where I usually go, having a good old chat with not one, but two naturopaths about, like I was expressing I have a naturopath, that I go to, but this particular store also have naturopaths on staff.
Oh,
and
nice.
So I was just asking some questions about, I was just sort of intuiting that I've got some inflammation sort of, on the rise. And I was like, okay, what could this be? No. And we're literally standing there like a circle of women in the middle of a store, like going through like symptoms and things.
Yeah.
They know me. I do this all the time. I do it for everyone. So it was really great. But I guess what you're also saying, or what I'm hearing you say again, is that a person's physical body, their physical health, their mental health, their emotional health, even their spiritual health, And when I say spiritual, I'm not necessarily talking about religion. I'm just talking about, your intuition and the way, you're feeling the world and the energy, the way you interact with that unseen part of yourself in your life.
Yeah.
It's a world that's extraordinary and full of so much depth. There needs to be a curiosity. There has to be a relationship with that. Because if there is no relationship with yourself, speaking to that self-care element that you mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, then when those things fall to the wayside, it's really where trouble starts. But you have to slow down and develop a relationship within yourself.
Yeah.
And then take some action on those on that internal guidance, whatever that may be, whether it's coming from your, I don't know, joints, whether it's coming from your mind in the form of thoughts, or whether it's coming from your, say, heart in the form of your own feelings and emotions. Just when you have a relationship with yourself, then you can begin to maybe decode what it is that you need, what your internal compass is guiding you to.
Yeah. Self-love.
Mm-hmm.
Self-love first.
Yes, so much. Again, neon signs are coming on.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think Robin Sharma, I'm not sure if you know who he is, a motivational speaker, but he has a book out called The 5 a.m. Club. And I'm going to misquote him, but he talks about something like developing a relationship with yourself and making sure that you have that relationship with yourself, because you are the one person that you'll spend the most time with on this earth. Because our relationships, they're going to change. They're changing. They're evolving. People are going to come and go, but you will always be with you.
Yep, can't escape you, and it's problematic if you're trying to escape you for your entire lifetime. Yeah, that leads to all sorts of funky,
Yeah.
outcomes. Yeah. So I'm noticing we're at 48 minutes already. Can you believe it?
That
So
went by too fast.
I want to ask you one last thing, and then I'm going to give you the floor to sort of talk a little bit about your business and what it is that you do. But my last question to you, Jenny, has to do with how do you, what is your discipline? What is your gift to yourself every day? What is it that you do in order to make sure that your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health are in balance and harmony, so that your well-being is at its optimum?
So it's not perfect. I have off days, especially, we're coming into the holidays. We just celebrated Thanksgiving here in America last week, and I was off. I didn't sleep well. I didn't eat the best. I didn't move my body like I should, and I felt it. I really felt it the next week. I just was in a funk. I was incredibly tired. So I prioritize getting back on track, and that is making sure that my sleep is at least 8 hours and that I'm getting good quality sleep. That's number one, that I move my body in some way. So Harvey dog over here and I have another dog, they motivate me to get out in the sunshine and to put my, eyes on the sun, be out in nature and walk every day. Those two things are what I do consistently to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. And then the rest comes into play as far as, making sure I'm fueling myself with the right foods that I feel best on and making time for fun.
And what happens? Okay, so sorry, they're the basics. So sleep, nutrition, movement.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And I'm guessing, I mean, obviously this, this sounds very much like an empowered choice, meaning you are empowered to make this choice for your own health and well-being every day. Yes?
Yes. And I should say, because I suffered a loss, I feel like, I was an adult when my parents passed, but I still lost them too young. Like I
Mm-hmm.
should have my parents here right now. So
Mm-hmm.
I think about that with my kids. I
Mm-hmm.
had I had my daughter at 32, my son at 36. So I had my kids later in life. I want to be able to be there for them. I want to be a grandma. I want to be on the floor with my grandkids. That is my internal motivation every day, is to be here as long as I can, God willing, for them.
Mm, good one.
Really
And what
want
do you do with those feelings? I mean, you sound like you funneled any kind of, some one of the ways that you process the grief that you have is by funneling it into something meaningful for your kids or with your kids.
Yes. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know what my life would be like had I not lost them in the way that I
Mm,
did. Like, it
mhm,
was both of them, I feel like, had they have taken better care of themselves, they would still be here. Who knows?
mm, mm,
I think they would, um, because my dad's illness for sure was preventable,
mm,
and I don't know about my mom's. Um, it's just, I really do think that, um, yeah, I think if she took better care of herself and was living her life how she wanted to live it, I think that, she could still be here. So I think that I'm here for a reason. My kids are a big piece of that. And my husband too. I love him. I would love to retire and travel with him. My kids are the big reason. They're my why.
mhm,
They're why I do it, because I want to be there for them as long as I can. I'm gonna live
mhm.
to be 100.
Why not?
Maybe.
Why not? Why
But I'm
not?
gonna live to be
Enjoy.
100 and still have my mind, hopefully, and walk, and, I want to be an independent centenarian.
When I turned 50 last year, I distinctly remember feeling like my life is only just beginning. It was like I spent the first 50
Yeah,
clearing out some past life karma or something, really learning, like hardcore learning,
yes,
about myself. And last year, it's like I really now get to live. Like everything I create is completely conscious, designed exactly the way I want it. I'm
mhm,
completely like, whereas in the first 50, I was concerned about making mistakes or, feelings of lack or grief or fear. I don't have any of that anymore. So if I make a mistake or if something goes wrong or whatever, it's like,
yeah,
yeah, it's okay. It's life, right?
yeah,
And I'm just so happy to have that feeling of complete integrity, complete transparency, and just go do it and have a great life. Yeah. And
I
so
love
that kind of, yeah,
yeah,
speaking to being, living a quality long life rather than just
mhm,
existing and tripping over your own
yeah,
unconscious anything, right?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I wanna be, Deanna, where you're
Mm.
at. I still have fears, I still have nervousness, I still have doubts. I would love to get past that.
Well, I'm not saying it was easy. Please understand. Not easy, but and also not saying also that it doesn't still trigger and happen, but
Mhm.
it's you know, when something is illuminated, when there's awareness,
Mhm.
then the transformation, the shift in consciousness, the transcendence from one state of being, meaning fear, to
Mhm.
another, meaning acceptance and let go or whatever,
Yeah.
is really quick. Like that just happens quicker and quicker and quicker. That's sort of, you know, so that just allows for a lot of freedom, you know,
Okay.
to just accept whatever circumstance is playing out. Yeah.
Mhm.
Anyway, I want to give you an opportunity to please tell us about your services, your business, so that we can finish over the next few minutes on that really beautiful high note of this conversation.
Thank you. Yes, like I mentioned, I coach women in their 40s, 50s, and my emphasis is helping them balance their blood sugar to reduce their sugar cravings, gain more energy, and lose weight. That's the main goal. And I do that in one-on-one private coaching right now. And it's all on Zoom. So I coach people mostly in America right now, but it could be anywhere given the beauty of technology, right? And I'm currently in the process of developing a course, and hopefully that will be more attractive, attractive to others as far as something quick that they can do self-paced. And I'm looking at developing a 4-week course, and that will all be advertised on my website at www.simplifiedlifestylecoaching.com, or you could find me and more information about what's coming up and what's new I'm on Instagram primarily, and that's my handle is Jenny, JENNYAZ_coach. And I'm also
We will in the comments. Sorry, we'll post all of your handles and your website address and all of that, so people will be able to just click in, go to you.
Yeah, and so one of my goals this year too is to get connected with doctors that are especially that are more in holistic medicine and wanting to get to root cause of the patient's symptoms. So that's my plan for this year, is hopefully connecting with more doctors and therefore connecting with more people who are wanting to start feeling their very best.
And you know, when you do that in America, then connect with some in Australia as well, because it would be amazing to have this holistic network of practitioners working together in that way.
Okay. Yeah, I love it. And when my family and I go to Australia, hopefully soon, you and I are going to connect and have coffee or tea or a drink.
Oh yeah.
It'd be so
amazing. Can't wait to meet you.
Yeah.
All right, my darling, we're ticking over to an hour, so I'm going to finish up our conversation. Don't hang up. I'm going to finish our recording. Don't hang up, but I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for opening up in that beautiful way and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
That's wonderful. Okay, don't go anywhere. And for the rest of you, thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure you're going to find something super useful about it, and build that relationship with yourself. Take care. Put in the effort. You're worth it. Much love. Mwah. Bye for now.